Merry Christmas, basketball fans, and welcome to another edition of the Upstate Hoops Podcast. I'm Jim Sinacropi here inside the FingerLakes1.com studios on the third floor of the North Park building in Seneca Falls, New York. It's our weekly roundup of Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball. It's Sunday, December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas. Have some guests in studio from Marcus Whitman. I have Marcus Whitman boys head coach Greg O'Connor. I have Marcus Whitman girls coach, I'm sorry, Bry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bry, it's Bry Parzych.
That's right, yep.
Okay, I want to say Bree, but it's Bry Parzych. We got that down now. And I also have Marcus Whitman sophomore, Maddie Ryan from the girls team, and Marcus Whitman senior, Jon Donovan from the boys team. So we're going to talk to them in a moment. We're going to wrap up some of the games of the week. We're going to look ahead at some of the games this upcoming week after Christmas, and then we'll let you know where we're going to be next for our live game coverage on Finger Lakes 1. We're going to reveal our Wayne Finger Lakes power rankings for the boys and girls also at the end of the show. So the Upstate Hoops Podcast and all of our coverage of Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball is brought to you thanks to the support of Generations Bank. The newest way to save money is also the easiest way to save money with the new MyGen Perks mobile app. Get all the details at mygenbank.com. And by Little John Orthodontics. Dr. Rod Littlejohn and Dr. Liz Barbie are proud to support our area high school athletes. Check out Dr. Rod and Dr. Liz online at littlejohnortho.com. And Bill Cram Chevrolet. All roads lead to Bill Cram Chevrolet on 5 and 20 between Seneca Falls and Waterloo. Browse their full inventory of new and used vehicles at billcramchevrolet.com. So, right off the bat, let's welcome our guests in the studio. You already saw Coach Parzych and Coach O'Connor. Welcome. Thanks for making the trip.
Thanks for having us out here.
And we have Maddie Ryan and Jon Donovan. Thanks, guys, for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
So, first thing I wanted to talk about is it was Thursday night. You guys did a varsity night doubleheader, girls, boys doubleheader, and we were covering a varsity night doubleheader in Waterloo between Minders and Waterloo. And I'm going to talk about that a little later in the show and what a great atmosphere and a great night that was. But how were things in Whitman? I know you guys you swept the doubleheader against Whitman, but Coach, what's pause for a cause?
We have an athlete on our team, Noah Hildreth, and his brother is in the hospital with CDH. It's essentially a hernia in his diaphragm where all of his organs were pushed up when he was born. So he's dealing with that. And we just wanted to help that family out. His mom actually graduated with me, and she's been a part of our basketball community, part of our boosters for a long time. So we wanted to do something nice for them and help them out. And it was a great turnout. The stands were packed. Our side, yeah. Honeyway had a great showing. We were very thankful that they were there, and they helped raise some money as well. They brought some donations. We got to thank Bloomfield Boosters, or I don't know where it came. I would assume the Boosters. They donated a couple hundred, and Minders donated some money to it. Not even being a part of it, and they got that. It was just a great experience for all the kids. So
and. Maddie, you guys and John are usually different gymnasiums, so if you're playing Honeyway normally, whoever's home, the other one's in Honeyway. Was it good to be able to watch each other play, on the same night?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I
think it was really cool.
I think that that should just be the normal thing. Right. It should always be varsity, and then JVs, boys and girls, can go and play opposite. And some of the arguments I've heard about that is that, some parents have kids on both teams, but some parents have kids on both boys and girls teams too, especially nowadays with a lot of kids come up early. Especially on the girls' side, I see a lot of 7th and 8th graders sometimes coming up and playing varsity. So I love the varsity night doubleheader, and I thought it was cool. I was keeping an eye on your games as we were in Waterloo doing that doubleheader, and it was a great night in both gymnasiums for sure. So let's see, where do we want to start? A lot to talk about. Coach Parzych, let's start with you and the girls team.
All right.
One thing I notice about your program is it seems to be like community-wide, and I get a lot of this feeling from social media, and it just seems like there's a lot of events where the varsity team is doing things with youth and the JV and varsity are together, and it just seems like a consistent thing throughout the winter. Is that something that you try to foster as coach of the program?
Yeah, that's one of our biggest pushes when I came in 3 years ago, was to really make it be not just about the varsity program, but how important it is to get all of our youth involved, especially in a small school district where we have a lot of kids competing to play a lot of different sports, to kind of get them invested and interested, right off in kindergarten, first, second grade, how important that is. And it's really important for our varsity and our JV kids to be involved in that growth process with the youth. It helps our youth kids and gives them some role models to look forward to, but it also teaches our older kids, how to teach basketball and how to be role models. And I know that the boys program does that as well. As for 5 Saturdays in a row, our JV and our varsity boys and girls are there with the youth doing K through 6. So that's something that's really cool to see, and the kids love it so much more because they're not just, with us coaches. The JV and varsity players are coaching them. And then when they can come to our games and they know the players, and it kind of brings the excitement up. And I think that it really gets the youth more involved, that our varsity and our JV are so invested in helping with the youth. And, they come and, yes, they get some of the proceeds, it helps towards the summer league and all that kind of stuff. But, they're doing it for 5 hours in the gym for 5 Saturdays in a row is really special. And so that's one thing we've really tried to create, that family atmosphere where the youth want to come to our games and want to, kind of watch, because that just makes such a huge difference in a program.
Yeah, and I think that's smart, and I think it's, you can't recruit unless you're a private school. But so how are you going to build a program that's sustainable? So you really have to tap into the youth, and I think when you do that too, it helps the community as a whole. That's one of the things I like about basketball, is it really something that binds a community together on a Friday night in the winter when everybody shows up to watch basketball. So Maddie, how did you come up to the program? Did you play youth basketball at Marcus Whitman as well?
Yeah, I went to the Saturday mornings that we coached too when I was younger, and it really helped. And then, yeah.
So when was the first time you picked up a basketball?
Second grade, I think.
And it was as a part of a rec league type of deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you just had a game that I saw against Marcus Whitman where you had to go against one of the better centers in the Finger Lakes West right now, in Jade Parsons. She didn't have a very, statistically a very good game, and didn't play a lot in the second half. But the one thing about Finger Lakes West girls basketball, I think, is there's a lot of great centers. There always have been. So how do you prepare to play against someone like Parsons, who's a senior? Because I remember when Jade was a sophomore, she was nowhere near the player that she is now. She has just gotten so much better. So how do you gauge yourself against those players and against some of the centers in the Finger Lakes West?
You just have to go in with a positive mindset and just think that you can do it, even if they are really good. You just have to stay positive. Sure,
absolutely. So, and what about you, Coach, having to play in the league with South Seneca? Is that like a measuring stick for your program? They've got a state championship, 2 state Final Fours, and 3 straight league titles.
I give so much credit to Heather. I think she's a phenomenal coach. I think she completely understands the X's and O's. She's also somebody, I think, that really buys into that, getting them started in youth. I think they have a very strong youth program. Every time, our modifieds play each other and JVs play each other, they're very competitive across all levels. So I think she does a phenomenal job of getting those kids invested at a young age as well. So that's one thing we're kind of trying to model that after as well. And it's, it's always kind of one of those measuring sticks of how are we doing this year, competing with those top teams in the league. And I think the cool thing is this is my third year being here. Is every year, we kind of are able to watch how our growth processes come and keep being more and more competitive with those top tier teams. Is something very exciting. But I think it's great to have a South Seneca in our league because they keep pushing everybody else. And so I give them a lot of credit. Their girls are very involved in off season. If you look at their roster, I think all but 2 play AAU. They're constantly doing things in the off season to improve, and I think that's a testament to Heather and what she does to our program.
And they do have huge numbers at the youngest level of the youth program. They had on their 5th and 6th grade girls team, or 4th and 5th, or whatever it was, they had 18 girls on the team, which a lot of people think that's a lot because you can't play them all in a game, but that's you create a lot of interest, and part of that too probably comes from the success they've had. As a young kid, you see these girls teams kind of be the stars of the community, going to the state Final Four and getting all this support and getting police escorts into town and stuff, and you're like, man, I'd like to be a part of that. So it is one of those situations where I think success just continues to breed more success. So now, Coach O'Connor, your boys 3-time defending Finger Lakes West champs, and really been the class of the Finger Lakes West on the boys' side. How do you get the program to that point?
Go back to the youth, really. I mean, when I took over 5 years ago, we were up there in competition with the West. We got 3rd or 4th, actually, I think, for the first 2 years I was in the West. And then all of a sudden these young kids came up through that had some solid youth coaches and travel coaches. And you really have to rely on the parents to volunteer their time to help out with that. And I've had a lot of great coaches helping with that. That first league title was a 3-way tie. And then from there, again, like you just said, success breeds interest, and interest breeds success. And kids wanted to get more involved. They wanted to start playing AAU more. I had the first group of boys that I think played AAU were Cal and Sean and Lucas, that team a couple of years ago that had North Rose in the semifinals there. And from that point on, everybody else just kind of followed suit. So it's nice that we're in a reloading phase instead of rebuilding phase right now.
Yep, yes, sure, absolutely. And John, how about you? When did you get started with basketball? From a really young age?
Yeah, since I was young.
Was that your favorite sport?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can tell. And watching you and your teammates, it seems like you guys really have fun playing basketball. And you've been on varsity since the sophomore year at least, right?
8th grade, yeah.
Since 8th grade, okay. Yeah. So just every team you've been on, it just looks like you guys enjoy each other and enjoy playing basketball together. Is that true?
Yeah, we try to stay involved together and play together so that it's just an overall good result.
And how does it feel being part of such a successful string? 3 league titles. So you won as a freshman, sophomore. You might have a whole sweep of your high school career as a league champ if you can do it again this year.
Yeah, it feels really good knowing that I have a good team to fall back on.
And personally, too, watching you play over the years, you're a lot of fun to play because you're always looking to set your teammates up. And so I say you look like you have fun playing basketball. It just looks like you enjoy the creative part of being a point guard and getting yourself into position to make the pass. Sometimes it's a flashy pass. I don't think that you worry about your points, how much you score, but more is how many times you set up your teammates. I think you're a true pass-first point guard, which is fun to watch. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. I think that if everyone's involved, then it's just more fun. We score more points, and it's an overall good environment for us, at least.
So, let's see here. While we're on this, why don't you tell me a little bit about some of your teammates this year? I mean, you lost Riley McLeod and Swirling Berlin Allen, and it's like I said, a lot of guys have come through, but this year you and Prendergrass are the seniors on the team. Is that right?
It's just me. Yeah.
He's a junior,
yeah.
So you'll be the only senior to graduate this year. I think it might be a shock for Coach O'Connor not to have you at the point going forward next year because you've been such a staple for him. But talk about some of your teammates.
Well, the teammates coming up, they're young, but they're really good. They know what to do. They're competitive during practice, and they're doing what they're supposed to. So,
how about those two guys that came up from JVs last year for sectionals? The 2 freshmen, they're now sophomores. Ryan. Yeah,
Oh yeah, they're really good. They do different sports throughout the year and all that, so they stay in shape and they're always ready.
Which one? One of those kids was cross country state. Went to states for cross country. Yeah, Royston.
Yeah.
Is that? And what's the other kid's name?
Ryan Herod.
Yeah, I just remember when they came up against we covered your game against North Star Christian in the semifinals last year, and I didn't know much about those two kids, and they came in and they weren't intimidated by North Star at that stage of playing on sectionals, and I thought, wow, man, Marcus Whitman's going to be good next year too.
Yeah.
So that was that's fun to see them having success. Maddie, what about you? Talk about some of your teammates now. They're mostly older than you, so are they good mentors to you?
Yeah, because in each practice they push me to my best, which leads to good games.
Yeah, and I think it seems like they're all solid basketball players. Physically, they're all kind of about the same size, it seems, and it's hard to tell who's a guard and who's a forward, but they move the ball well, and yeah. So what? Talk a little bit about when you prep for a game, when coach gets you ready for a game. Is she talking more about defense or offense, or what? How does that go?
Probably more offense, but defense with it.
Yeah, you guys really seem to keep your opponent's score lower than their average. And you guys don't score a lot either, so it seems to me like you're a defensive club. Is that defense first, Coach? Or?
Yeah, that's kind of the mentality. I was around. I was very young when Coach Tuck was still around, and he was very big into Whitman girls basketball being all about defense, and that's one of the mottos that I've really worked hard to keep instilling in my teams. Is offense comes and goes. We talk a lot about Billy Donovan is really big into the 95% and how for only 5% of the time you actually have the basketball in your hands. 95% of the time you don't, and what do you do with that 95%? So that's one of our biggest mottos this year is that 95%, and a lot of that goes into the defensive end of, if we can keep opponents to a low score and we can stop some of their best players, we're always in a chance to win a basketball game. We are constantly defense first, and now the second half of the season, we're really going to start to work on those offensive moves and how we finish on offense and in the flow of our offense so that we can kind of push to that next level. But we're definitely a defensive first team, and I think that's definitely shown in some of the games. If you go down through the section, we've kind of kept teams to some of their lower point totals that we played against. And I tell them if we can keep them to about 8 points lower a quarter, you're in every chance to win a basketball game. So we've really kind of stuck to that motto of locking down on defense a little bit.
So we're getting close to New Year's, and you guys are fourth in the Finger Lakes West standings, and we'll go through the standings in a little bit here. Let's talk about, it's too early to really start thinking about, start talking about sectionals or start preparing for sectionals, but we can discuss it a little bit. In Class C1, there's a lot of Wayne County teams in there, like Gananda, ER, and Red Creek. Gananda is a great program. ER is a good team. Canisteo, Greenwood, Avon. How soon in the season do you start scouting and looking ahead to sectionals?
Usually, my JV coach is actually my husband, which I'm very fortunate for. So we do a lot of scouting and things together. I, with my team, only look at one game ahead. So our most important opponent is always the one that's coming to us or that we're facing next. So I kind of keep the girls out of the looking further ahead. Mr. Parzych and I do a lot more of that, kind of looking at what's happening in the section. I think it's actually a really great thing that we have we have Wayne County, Steuben County that are mostly in our section because that kind of keeps it fresh with the girls. Sometimes when you start playing teams 3-4 times, they kind of get that in their head of, we played this team before, maybe we beat them, or this team is really good. Right. When you go and play some of those teams for the first time, it kind of has that fresh aspect to it, which I think is really exciting. So we played Canisteo, Greenwood before. They're very physical. They're a very well-coached team. So I'm excited to kind of see what we do in sectionals this year. I think if we keep improving every day, that we can make a good run, once we hit February.
Yeah, I think watching your program over the past few years, it's gotten better and better. And this losing Jordan Chappelle and Emily Thompson from last year, I think was a big loss. I thought that team was very good. I almost wish you could have it for just one more year, but everybody behind them is stepping up. I see your team is getting better as the season goes on, and I think that you could certainly make a run at a sectional title. Do you remember the last time for Marcus Whitman girls?
The last time I know that we were in the finals was my senior year, 2008. We went to the sectional finals against Wayland-Cohocton, and we ended up losing to Wayland-Cohocton. So that was the last time I remember playing in the big house. We went and played at the War Memorial.
Oh, wow, the girls played in the War Memorial.
Yeah, that was one of the last years we played in the War Memorial. So that was a really cool experience, and it's actually funny because Maddie's older sister, Ashley, was actually on the team with me as a senior that year. So it's kind of neat to know. I've known Maddie's, parents all the way growing up through, and it's kind of been a neat experience to know, Ashley, and now to be able to kind of watch Maddie and Maddie develop, both amazing centers with a lot of height and a lot of potential coming up through.
And again, that's the great thing about high school basketball to me too, is like I'm talking about the community aspect of it, that you coached your coach and you played with one of your players' older sisters, and so that is pretty cool. Maddie, do you talk about season goals for your team?
Yes, we each actually pick a word, and then we kind of relate back to the word throughout the season.
What's your word?
Adaptable.
And explain that. Why did you choose that?
Because in any situation you get put in, you need to be able to adapt to it.
Okay, yeah. And what about what would be a successful season for you guys in terms, or maybe I'll ask you, Coach, only because maybe it's just a sophomore. She hasn't had many postseason runs, but is it a successful season for you guys if you get to the sectional semifinals? Is a sectional title a goal? How do you gauge that?
Yeah, I think not only did we lose Chappelle and Thompson last year, we lost a total of 5 seniors. So that's definitely a big hit, and I think this group is, there's only 8 of us. We've only had 4 that have played at the varsity level before, and we're kind of all getting used to gelling together. A lot of them haven't played together before because different kids get pulled up at different levels and all that. So I really think that, this group can put their mind to and make a good run in sectionals. In my first 2 years, we haven't won our first round yet. So I definitely think being over 500 is definitely obtainable for us this year, and winning at least that first round game is going to be that next stepping point of us as a program, and how we move forward is now we got to get that first one out of the way, get that first sectional win, and then kind of go from there. But this group, you have Ari and Aaliyah Beverly, who are sisters, who are scrappy and who are amazing. They just make things happen on offense. Ari's vision, sometimes the plays she sees, I look at her and I just don't know how she does them, and I was a point guard. Aaliyah is scrappy. She's a senior that leads us. Charlotte Alvord's a senior that's come in and given us some really great time. She's starting this year. She gives us so much energy. So as a whole, they've all really bought into their roles of, what they do for this team. And, of 8 of us, I think kind of the sky's the limit for them. If they put their mind to it, the biggest thing is them believing that they can go that far and win, because we haven't had that success quite yet in the program, and having them be that first group to take that step and do it.
That's how it happens. There's a breakthrough at some point, right? You keep working your system and trying to do the best you can. And whether you win or lose a sectional title, it's you have a successful program when you're graduating good kids and you see them grow up, in front of your eyes a little bit and then head off to college. But there will, for every great program, there's a breakthrough at some point. A team goes a little farther than maybe they thought they would, and then all of a sudden that becomes like the new standard. So I think you guys, like I said, in Class C1 are certainly one of the contenders to do it. So now, Jon, you've been through. So let's see. You were on the team that lost to Northrose Wolcott at Waterloo in the semifinals in double overtime, was it?
No, it was regular.
That was regulation? Yeah. It seemed like a triple overtime game. That was an amazing basketball game. It really was. And then you had a really good team last year, and you run into North Star Christian in the semifinals, which I thought you guys played really well in a game that was in Bloomfield. But obviously they went on to the states, the state tournament in Binghamton, and then return everybody again this year, and they get placed in Class A2, which is like way ahead of C1. So I thought it was unfair. A lot of people thought it was unfair, but we don't have time to have the whole public-private debate right now. But what would be a successful season for you?
Bringing home a block.
That's what it is. You want to have a sectional title. Do you remember when the last time Marcus Whitman boys have won a sectional title?
76.
1976. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it people think it's easier than it is.
Yep.
You know, it's really hard to win a sectional title, I think. And there's a lot of intangibles. Like last year, you know, I don't know. If you did beat North Rose, I think you would have ended up playing Lions, which was a really good team. But I think you guys could have beat that Lions team for sure. But this year, you got Ganonda, East Rochester, Sodus, Addison, Avon, C.G. Finney. I think will be a tough one. Now there's a private, right? Are they actually private, C.G. Finney?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but they have this 8th grader that's averaging like 30 points a game.
I heard he's incredible. So looking forward to seeing him, I guess. But I think it's a doable deal. Talk, Coach, just a little bit about your classification this year.
Yeah, I've already been hawking film from people and going out myself and watching some games. And I think we have a great opportunity to bring home that block. The top 5 teams, I believe, are all something in 1 or something in 0. Yeah. So it's a strong top of the bracket. Ganonda's the running gun, going to score 90 points a game.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're putting up points. East Rochester is always strong. Avon, I'm not sure who they're playing, but they're undefeated right now. I
know Minders is playing Avon coming up.
Yeah, but I saw that. I mean, they beat Livonia, we beat Livonia, so it'll be a good matchup. So, but yeah, I've already been looking at the film and the tape on teams and getting scouting reports ready. The guys don't see them. I'm like Coach Parzych. The guys don't see them until we need to, but they're ready. So,
right. Yep. So yeah, John, it is. You've got a lot of experience playing varsity for so long, and I'm going to talk to you guys all a little bit maybe about sectionals and some of the other teams in your league and as we go on here, but I'm going to move ahead now to kind of go through some of the results from the past week real quick. I'm not going to read every single score. Some of the games we're spotlighting, and the first one that I have to talk about is the Waterloo Minders doubleheader from Thursday night. Now, Waterloo to me was the story of the week because they started out the week by going to Newark and beating Newark 71-64, and that was the win that made everybody be like, holy cow. Waterloo's always seemed to have talent over the past few years, playing in the tough Finger Lakes East, and never been able to put it together record-wise. Last year they won 5 games, so to see them go on the road and beat Newark, a team that looked like would be the only team that maybe could give Wayne a run, it was pretty impressive. It was 71-64. Derek Sluka had 20 points, 10 of them in the fourth quarter. Mike Hubbard had 12. John Lawrence had 10. And Mason Vandemortel had 29 for Newark. So that was a bit of a it was a shocker, I would say. I don't think a lot of people expected Waterloo to win that game. So now they come off of that win, and they're hosting Minders in a girls-boys doubleheader. Hadn't beaten their rival Minders since 2007. So 11 years, 22 straight games, crosstown rivals, Waterloo and Minders. And Waterloo lost every single one. And so I know that Coach Pittifer for Waterloo was making it a point that they were going to end that streak this year. And I think they waived the price of admission. They had a pep band in the crowd. And Waterloo's gymnasium is huge. And it was packed, and it was one of the best environments I've ever seen for a high school basketball game, a regular season high school basketball game. It was awesome. Both communities turned out, and with the band playing, it felt like you were at a college game. And sure enough, Derek Sluka sat right over there where you guys are sitting last week, and when we asked for predictions, he predicted a 20-point Waterloo win, and he was right. They won by 85-66, a 20. Geez, let me do the math here. A 19-point win, so he's off by 1. But I thought it was a bold prediction, but he obviously backed it up. And what a great game. Darren Miller ended up with 33, although the stats for this game were kind of screwed up. Somebody else told me he had 34. Derek Sluka was listed as having 10 assists. I rewatched the game. He had 0. Like he had 1 maybe. But he did have 23 points. Nick Champion, 7 3-pointers, 23 points. And, he was a kid that, if you read the Finger Lakes Times, they did an article about him getting cut off the JV team last year. And usually you don't see a newspaper article about a kid getting cut, but there was a lot of controversy inside the program for why he did get cut. And so I talked to him on the post-game show, and I asked him about that. And, obviously he used that as motivation. So it's pretty cool for a kid to get cut off the JV team, to stick with it, come back, and then hit 7 threes against your rival when you beat him for the first time in 11 years. So that was definitely pretty cool. Julian Ruiz had 17, and Waterloo looks great. And so in Class B1, where Waterloo is, they have a chance to win their first sectional title since 1972. So, Coach Pittifer, you've done a great job of re-energizing the program. So many times we've gone to that gym, and it's just been quarter filled, which made it look empty because it was so big. But the excitement's definitely back in Waterloo. Now the question is, you beat your rival for the first time in 11 years. The question now is, can you win a first sectional title since 1972, the year I was born? 47 years. 46, 47? Either way, it was a long, long time ago. But I think they got a really good chance this year. Minders did pick up a win this week against Clyde Savannah. It was the second time they played. This time Clyde came to Minders. Minders won 56-31. Mid-Lakes boys picked up a win without Devin Hicks, who got hurt last week. He's still out. 55-52, they beat Palmac. Matt Mattoon had 26 points in that one. Geneva with a big win against Penn Yan. Now, Penn Yan beat Minders. Waterloo beat Penn Yan. So this was a big game for Geneva. Penn Yan came to the new gymnasium in Geneva, won 48-43. Reed Patchett had 10 points and 7 rebounds. Akeem Hudson is back. 9 points and 8 rebounds for him. And then the Wayne Eagles are down in Orlando. I don't know if you guys knew about this.
I saw that.
Yeah, they went down south. And that is pretty cool because that group has been together for so long. Coach Thompson coaches his son, who's a point guard, now a senior. Logan Blankenberg, Nick Carmichael, Logan Helgado. They've all been together for a while. So Coach Thompson, I think, is and there's a team that had never won a sectional title in their school history that now is coming off of 2 straight. And so as a special treat, I guess, for that group, they went down to Orlando, played in a tournament, beat Shanahan out of Pennsylvania 67-58 in the opener. Second round, they played a team from California, Palos Verde. They beat them in overtime 45-43. Logan Blankenberg had 19, 2 free throws with 1 second left after Nick Carmichael fouled out. With about 2 minutes to go in that game, they pulled it out. And then yesterday, they lost their second game of the season against a team from Kentucky called Seneca High School, 65-39. I don't know anything about Seneca High School or any of those teams, but I assume
they gotta be good.
It was a good tournament. And if they beat Wayne, if they beat Wayne by 16 points, they had to be a really good team. So Nick Carmichael had 10 in that one. Blankenberg had 9. Billy Thompson had 9. So they had a nice trip. They'll be home now. They might be watching this on the plane flying home. And get home for Christmas and then start playing some more familiar opponents, I guess. So we're going to start looking every week at the standings in the leagues, and so let's look at the East standings first here. And, there's Wayne at the top. That's not updated with yesterday's game in which they lost to their second loss, but 3-0 in the league. Waterloo 4-1 now in the league. Newark 3-1. Geneva 3-1. I mean, maybe one of those 3 teams can step up and challenge Wayne. Waterloo has to go get Newark again at home. I think Waterloo has to play Geneva twice still. Newark has to play Geneva. Wayne beat Waterloo once already. Wayne has 2 games against Newark still. And so it should be interesting, but certainly Wayne's league to lose there. And Finger Lakes West. Let me just get this set to go. Red Jacket beat Bloomfield this week 64-40. Matt Record had 21 points in that one. I saw Bloomfield play at South Seneca, and I thought that they looked really good. They had it seemed like they had a lot of offensive options and 3 or 4 guys that could score 15, 20 points a game. But since then, they've been losing some games, and it's been Red Jacket who's kind of stood out to me as maybe one of the biggest threats to 4 straight league titles for Marcus Whitman. So Red Jacket looks good. let's see, did they play again last week? There's two teams I wanted to ask you guys about while I'm in here, but Coach, Red Jacket, they're
tough.
Good, right?
Yeah, they're tough. The record kid is crafty. He can shoot from the outside. He can get to the hoop. Rizzo's big and strong. They have another big guy. I did forget his last name, number 33. You remember his last name?
Rizzo, Borst?
No, a tall guy down low who kind of clogs the paint a little bit. Made it difficult for us to go. But it was a tough environment to go over there and play them, for sure, especially with Coach Gage being sick. Mm-hmm. He was sick that game. He was at the JV game and went home. Emailed me and apologized. But, if you're sick, you're sick. It's no apology. But, they were tough without their head coach. Munn stepped in and did a great job. So it'll be an exciting one when they come to us, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to try to get some of these games on our schedule. So our live webcast schedule, we know where we're going next week. I'll tell you that at the end of the show, although you probably know already. It'll be Geneva for that Lions North Star game and then a doubleheader, Geneva-Rochester Academy. But we're scrapping our entire second half and rebuilding it, our schedule. We decided this year it was going to be more of a flex schedule, so we made sure we got some more meaningful games at the end of the year. So. But man, you guys at Marcus Whitman got to get some internet going in that gymnasium. It's like locked down, like you can't even get anything in there. So maybe I'll call your IT staff there because I got to get over there and do some more games. Also in the West, the Romulus boys are looking good. 49-44 win over Honeoye this week. Dom Trippi had 20 for Honeoye. Spencer Johnny had 16 points and 11 rebounds. Camden Derby had 12 points. Naples beat Bloomfield in overtime, 57-51. They've had some wild games recently. And then for the Whitman boys, they beat South Seneca 73-41. They beat Honeoye 63-49. Honeoye, team that went to the Class D1 finals in the Blue Cross last year, although they lost their two top scorers. But they bring back Tyler Rudolph, and Coach, he's one of the better big guys in the league,
He's got some good footwork for being a big guy. He's tall and he uses his body well. He kind of ate us up a little bit in the first half, to be honest. Him and Trippi had 19 out of their 22 points in the first half. So we had to adjust a little bit on defense.
So let me pull up this Finger Lakes West standings now and see where we stand. There you are, but Cole Rathbun and the Naples Big Green, Coach. Talk about Naples.
I haven't seen them yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wanted to see
they're
them
undefeated,
too.
And they're going to be a tough game as well. They come to us next week, or not next week, but the week after, the 4th after the holiday there. But they do play over break, so I'll be heading to Naples to watch them.
Is that a tough place to play down in Naples? It's like green in there. It's like really green.
It is. Fortunately, this first one they have to come to us. Mm-hmm. So. I don't know. I don't know. Do you think it's tough playing down there, John?
No,
down in Naples?
I like it down there.
You like it down there? It's I wouldn't. They're a bit of a surprise. I thought Naples was a bit of a surprise after they had a team that went 19-1 or 20-1 a few years ago. They lost a heartbreaker in the semifinals in Bloomfield. They would have moved on to face Lions team that had Damon Hunter. That Naples team was fantastic, but a little under the radar this year. But 5-0 in the league, 7-0. Red Jacket, as I mentioned, 6-1 overall, 3-1 in the league. And the rest of these teams like HAC and Ryan Hilton, that's not a gimme game. Bloomfield's certainly not a gimme game. The Naples took overtime to beat them, and the Romulus boys look better. Honeoye, I think, is better than their record would indicate, and the South Seneca boys even. They got a freshman, Knowles kid who they're going to just keep getting better as he progresses up through high school. And even some of the names on Dundee I recognized so the Finger Lakes West, one thing about it, John, is that it's exciting. The games are always exciting. Yeah. Maybe more so. Finger Lakes East sometimes tends to be lower scoring, and Finger Lakes West is wild, right? So Wild West. You agree with that?
Yeah.
So Wayne County boys now. Gananda and Mid-Lakes always play a home-and-home recent years. Gananda won 87-73, and Gananda also beat Red Creek this week 83-51. They really gave Lions a game heading into the fourth quarter. Nobody expected anybody to beat Lions at all in Wayne County this year. So But Gananda, who's a team that's in Marcus Whitman's sectional classifications, really good team. Jaden Castrocini and Andrew Gabbert. I know those guys watch the show. We're going to come to Gananda. I'm thinking about Gananda, East Rochester. East Rochester at Gananda might be on our schedule coming up. So stay tuned for that one. It's a great place. They have a great student section. Speaking of East Rochester, they beat Clyde 73-52 this week. Alan Otero had 26 points. Saw him play at the Atwood. I love him. Alan Otero reminds me of Gary Trent, the Shack of the Mac, which no high school player watching this game, right? This show knows what I'm talking about at all. But and then just last night, I think it was last night, 2 nights ago, Clyde Savannah and North Rose Wildcat. Clyde wins 59-58. Great game. Both teams a little bit down record-wise, but big win for Clyde. Quentin Norris had 26 points for North Rose in that one. Cam Chance had 35 for Clyde. And then Lions, boy, they took it to North Rose 93-39. Justice Smith, 36 points. Quentin Norris had 15 in that one. So let me pull up the Wayne County boys standings and take a look. And guess what? Lions is in first. 6-0, 7-0 overall. And then right behind them, Gananda and ER, both C1 classification teams, both really good teams. I can't wait. I haven't seen Gananda in person, but recognize a lot of those names from last year. And they're looking good this year, along with ER. And then after that, it definitely drops down a tier, I think. Although Sodas looking good at 4-2. I think Lions has to go 2 Sodas in a couple weeks. Maybe a chance that Lions could slip up. Red Creek's been looking good. They had one of their top players injured his hand. Smith or Dan Smith maybe. And then Clyde, of course, lost all 4 of their 5 starters last year from the team that went to the state regional playing game in D1. So let's kick it over to the girls now side of things and start with the Finger Lakes East. Mid Lakes trying to repeat as sectional champs, trying to get back to the state Final Four. They hosted Wilson this week, won 76-35. Elena Forbes had 24. Kara Walker had 15-5. Macy Kisner had 15-10. And then Mid Lakes on Friday night got a huge win against Pelmac, who is probably their biggest challenger in the Finger Lakes East, 52-47. Pelmac also got a 3-point win against Waterloo, 42-39. So big win for Mid Lakes against Pelmac, and also a pretty good week for Pelmac getting that win over Waterloo. But we talked about the community aspect, and my daughter's 7th grade travel team played at Mid Lakes yesterday, and when we were there, the entire varsity team was in the stands watching their team. And so those, and especially when you got those girls who went all the way to the state Final Four, for these younger girls to see them coming out to watch them, I think it's pretty cool. And I got to talk to Kara Walker and say hello to those girls, and they were pretty happy with their win over Pelmac the night before. The girls-boys doubleheader in Waterloo, it was a Waterloo sweep. Waterloo girls really in the second half really took it to Minders, 57-39. Mackenzie Barber, who I spoke to on the post-game show, had a really good game, 20 points and 12 rebounds. Jillian Panic, who was in the studio last week, had 9 points. And Maddie Barnett had 15 to lead Minders. But a really good night for Waterloo. A lot of Minders fans took the short ride home a little down after the Waterloo sweep. The Wayne girls have been a surprise in the East. Phyllis Reed, I guess, is I'd love to see her play. Everybody I talked to says she's phenomenal. She had 16 points as the Eagles beat Newark 64-36. And then the Geneva girls got a much-needed win at Penn Yan, 51-44 this week. And so let's look at the Finger Lakes East girls standings, where we have Mid Lakes 7-0 undefeated, 4-0 in the league. Wayne undefeated in the league. That look forward for that matchup. Pelmac just came up a little short. Mid Lakes hasn't been dominant like most state Final Four teams that return so many key components to their team. I haven't actually seen him play in person. We're definitely going to see him coming up here. I know that they lost Jordan Noya, their point guard, which sometimes it didn't seem like a huge loss, being the fact that they had Kara Walker and Elena Forbes back and Macy Kisner back. But she was a point guard, and she made some big plays on that postseason run last year. So they still might be trying to figure things out. Maybe they have to have Elena Forbes handling the point a little more than she did last year. I don't know, but they haven't been dominant as you would expect a team like that coming off a state Final Four to be. But still, obviously, very good, 7-0, a lot of good wins. So there's those big three in the East, Mid-Lakes, Wayne, and Pelmac. Geneva's been kind of surprising. They lost to Wayne, they lost to Mid-Lakes, they lost to Pelmac. So they're 1-3, but it was to the top three teams in the league. And then Minders and Waterloo both they're both in the same sectional classification in B2, where the Waterloo boys are in B1, the Waterloo girls are in B2. I think the most interesting thing about when they met was the fact that I think they're both legitimate contenders in that class for sectionals. So let's move on now to the Finger Lakes West, where the Romulus girls look resurgent. 54-34 at Honeoye. The Romulus girls won, and then they hosted HAC and beat them 56-29. We'll show you the standings in a second there, and Romulus is right up there. Red Jacket girls, we knew they'd be good. Coming back after losing in the sectional finals to South Seneca. They beat Bloomfield 62-40. Sarah Van Aken had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 7 steals. Sydney Close had 19 points and 5 assists. And Maddie, do you have to bang around with Sarah Van Aken when you guys play? She's like super athletic.
Yeah, she is really athletic.
Really makes that team go, right?
Yeah, and Sydney, yeah.
Yeah, and Sydney, great shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So one of the best shooters I think I've seen in the girls' side this year. Girls or boys' side. She's a really good shooter. Bloomfield beat Naples 65-53, and I gotta ask you guys, who the heck is Autumn Coons? I mean, I saw her last year scoring like 18, 19 points a game, and Haley Langdon, who now plays for Penn Yan, would score a lot of points. But this year, Naples will lose by like 45-41, and Autumn Coons will have like 38 of the 41 points.
Yeah, it's we had the chance to be able to play. Autumn played with us a little bit over the summer. She came and joined us a little bit. Definitely a rough stretch for Naples, a little bit losing. The two Giovian sisters moved away. They're living in Florida. And then Haley moved to Penn Yan. Yeah. So, they had a very, very strong, very big, they were a very big sized team coming back. It would have been one of the top contenders in the league, and then to lose 3 of your key pieces, I think really hurt. So I give Autumn a ton of credit. She is stuck with it. I think she's out there doing her best every single night.
Clearly.
It's really amazing. I'm excited to go and play them on January 4th because I wish her all the best. I think she's doing some amazing things.
What position is she? Like, I know nothing about her other than she's averaging like 36 points a game.
Yeah, she's a guard. So my guess is she's probably playing a decent amount of point guard for them right now. Okay. I know they tend to play a zone on defense. They've had to move some younger kids up. They don't have a JV squad this year, so they have quite a few girls that are younger up with them. Some new faces that we haven't seen before because they've lost so many key pieces. But I think she's just going out there every night and just giving 110%. Probably she's exhausted by the time she gets done. But I wish her the best of luck. I mean, she's just going out there. I think she's leading Section 5 in girls scoring all the way, all of Section 5. Yeah, she's the highest scorer. I think she's averaging 35 points a game. It's just, it's amazing. So I'm really excited. We have some film on her that we'll be watching this week coming up. But I'm very impressed, and I think she's a great athlete. She's a great person. It was really fun to have her join us this summer and play with us for a little bit. And I'm excited to kind of see where she keeps going as the season goes.
Yeah, I tell you, it's so much fun when the scores get posted to pull up the back score and see what she did, because sky's the limit with Autumn Coons. And South Seneca girls, another good week. They beat Dundee 67-28, and then they beat Marcus Whitman 50-22. And and then you guys, Marcus Whitman, turned around and bounced back really nicely against Honeywell at home on that Pause for a Cause doubleheader, 55-34. Ari Beverly had 19 points in that. Maddie, you had 14. And, the South Seneca girls, I've been saying it, and you having coached against them over the past several years, they, to me, when I look at them, I don't see that much difference between this team and teams of the past few years that have gone all the way through postseason, 3-time sectional defending champs, and 2 state Final Fours in the last 3 years. I mean, Emily Lavarnway was a really special talent that they don't have one of hers, but Jade Parsons is a different type of player, but I think in a lot of ways is just as good. And some aspects of her game are better than Emily. Emily just was a ridiculous athlete, a state pentathlon champion. But do you see that too? Do you see that this team is pretty much the same, different, but quality-wise still good enough to win a 4th straight sectional title?
Yeah, I think the really cool thing about South Seneca is, even when they lose kids, they have kids coming up through their JV program that are right ready. And I think Heather does a really great job of preparing those JV kids to come up and take roles right away. So their guards right now they can sub in, 6-7 guards deep, and they still have, kind of the same energy that those starters had, which I think is, a really unique thing for a smaller school to kind of be able to have that depth.
There's a good chance one of those subs will be a Fletcher.
Yes, they have a lot of siblings.
They have triplets and one of their sisters.
Yep, so there's 4 on that team, and then the Shawlesses have been, a big name in the girls coming up. They have one on the varsity team. They have one on the JV team ready to come up here soon.
I know.
So they definitely, you talk about family aspect. I think South Seneca definitely has a lot of that family aspect with it. But yeah, they're very competitive. And I think a big part of it too is, Heather's just has a lot of great strategies, X's and O's, and puts them in really great spots to win.
And Jenna McDonald, Logan Shaw is just a sophomore, but Jenna McDonald, she's one of my favorite players. She's like relentless, high energy, great defense. I said one of the most exciting things in girls basketball is Jenna McDonald streaking down the court with a basketball on a fast break. It's like she's so fast. Mm-hmm. So South Seneca looks like a contender again this year, no surprise. So they're 5-0 in the league. They beat Red Jacket. Well, I couldn't believe the margin in that game. They beat them pretty bad. I don't think the return matchup, I think it'll be a lot closer than that. And then to me, the Romulus girls at 4-1, that's great to see. Now, a lot of people forget Romulus won a state title. Oh man, what are we, 7 or 8 years removed from that? But a lot of pride in Romulus, and one of the games that I know a little bit on our webcast schedule is Romulus, or South Seneca at Romulus, coming up in a few weeks. And then you guys are right there kind of in the middle of the next few weeks, Maddie. Win or lose will really, dictate kind of how the rest of your season will go in terms of where you'll be in the league. And the same thing with Bloomfield. They had some big losses last year off a pretty good team. And then Dundee looked pretty good this year. They got a Cratsley girls pretty good. And the Finger Lakes West girls basketball is a really difficult league when you're trying to make a name for yourself. I think Red Jacket did it last year. They kind of broke through. They beat Bloomfield in the semifinals to get to the finals to play South Seneca at Honeywell Falls Lima. So they should be exciting second half in the West for the girls. Wayne County, really quick. The story in Wayne County, Ganana girls are always good. ER girls are usually pretty good. The Lions girls generally not so good, especially in comparison to the boys. But this year they look like they're putting it together. They won 69-65 at North Rose Wolcott. Kaden Crago had 20 points and 8 assists. Caitlin McDonald had 19. Ava Morris, EVA, that is Tyler Norris's younger sister and Quentin Norris's twin sister, 31 points. And then she came back in a loss to Red Creek, 61-47 loss. This was last night. They played on Saturday. Eva Norris had 28 points in that. Izzy Wilbur, who 2 weeks ago scored 1,000 points, 32 points and 13 rebounds for Red Creek. Ganana girls, beat Clyde Savannah 49-16. And then, actually, I shouldn't have said that Lions is the story of Wayne County, because Marion's the story of Wayne County, still undefeated. 2 wins this past week, 48-33 over Clyde. And then 71-19 over Red Creek. Like, Marion is pretty dang good. I don't know. Do you know anything about the Marion girls?
I have not heard a lot about them, but that's a lot of offense and some good defense
against a good,
yeah,
Red Creek team with a sophomore who's a 1,000-point scorer on there, in Izzy Wilbur. So let's throw up these Wayne County girls standings quickly. And Marion 8-0, 9-0 overall, 8-0 in the league. Lions 5-1, Gananda 5-1. ER girls 4-3. And then I say Red Creek team led by Izzy Wilbur at 3-3. Wayne County girls basketball is up this year for sure from what it has been in the past. Marion's playing someone in a crossover game coming up. I can't remember off the top of my head who it is. Oh, they're in a tournament over this next week with South Seneca. So, boy, I hope that it works out that they face each other, because sometimes it's tough to gauge. Like the Minders girls last year, where it had a tough start to the season, and they had to play Red Creek at the chiropractic college in about this time of year in a holiday tournament, and we did that game, and I was like, this is going to be a pretty good game, but Minders just crushed them. Yeah. And part of that is just like Wayne County girls basketball traditionally has just not been as strong as the Finger Lakes leagues. So I would love to see that South Seneca Marion game if it happens. I don't know if I can convince my wife to take a drive to South Seneca Marion girls, but so that brings me real quick here. We're about 10:56. Just to give you a heads up, if you're watching on Finger Lakes TV channel 1304, in a couple minutes we're just going to cut off, because I'm definitely going to go over the hour here to get to everything we got to get to. So if you are watching on Finger Lakes TV channel 1304, Merry Christmas. Heading up this week, games coming up. Minders is in Skinny Atlas for a tournament. Newark traditionally goes down to Elmira. They're doing that again. Mid-Lakes is at a Red Jacket tournament. And then Finger Lakes 1 on Friday night will be in Geneva. Our first webcast from that new facility in Geneva. And what really it's the game of the year so far. North Star Christian against Lions. And that'll be followed by Rochester Prep at Geneva. So we're doing the first night of this doubleheader. Because of that North Star Lions matchup. It's like North Star beat Lions last year in the state playing game for Class C, and Justice Smith versus Miles Brown. Michael Brown also on North Star. North Star is really good. It's going to be the only test for Lions before they get to the postseason. They aren't going to be challenged in Wayne County to that extent, and it's really interesting to see how they do. I, a few weeks ago, said Justice Smith was the best player in Section 5 after what I've seen from him this year. But Miles Brown will probably disagree. We got two of the best, without a doubt, best players in Section 5 going head-to-head that game. Wildly interesting to see what happens, and I can't wait. We'll be streaming it live so you can enjoy that in the comfort of your own home. Watch that great matchup. And then, like I say, Geneva hosting Rochester Prep. And so that'd be a good doubleheader. Girls games coming up this week. Geneva is in a tournament at Churchville Chili. Newark's at a tournament in Livonia. And then that, as I mentioned, South Seneca's in Williamson. Their first opening games against C.G. Finney. Marion's also in that tournament. HAC and Williamson play at Williamson, so I don't know what's going on there because there's more than 4 teams for that. So I just hope somehow South Seneca and Marion end up playing. Penn Yan's at Bath Haverling, Waterloo's at Honeyway Falls Lima, and then Saturday, kind of a weird game. Lions is coming to Minders. That's not a tournament game or anything. That's a week from yesterday. Lions and Minders will square off in Seneca Falls. So, all right, I gotta do our power rankings real quick. Let's start with the girls. Top 10. Mid-Lakes 1. No surprise there. South Seneca 2. No surprise there. Although Wayne and Marion specifically are nipping right at their heels, and so when Wayne and Mid-Lakes play, that'll be a great game to watch. And South Seneca and Marion just keep continuing to win. Pelmac at 5th, Gananda at 6th, Waterloo beat Minders up to 7. Lions leapfrog Minders, but like as I mentioned, they play this week, so that'll be a 8-9 matchup. And then Red Jacket girls come in at 10. And so let's check out the boys' power rankings. And this is a real tough one, too. Lions are Wayne number 1. I just wish they would play, but they won't ever play. It'll never happen, unfortunately. So you're just going to – it's just a matter of opinion. They're both ridiculous teams this year, senior-laden teams. But another thing Derek Sluka said was his goal was to be top 3 in the power rankings. And all it took was 1 week. Beat Newark, beat Minders. There you go. Up to number 3. Derek Sluka is like a prophet of high school basketball. And Newark falls just 1 spot to 4 after that loss to Waterloo. And then Gananda, 5 for Wayne County. And there you guys are Marcus Whitman. John, do you think that you guys deserve to be higher than number 6?
I believe so, yeah.
How come? Like who like Gananda's in your class, right? Do you think you should be higher than Gananda?
Probably. I feel like we should.
Think you should be number 1?
Play him, so.
You probably think you should be number 1.
Yeah, of course.
Well, like I say, Gananda Whitman is a matchup that could certainly happen before the year's done if it plays out that way in sectionals. Geneva 7, Naples big surprise again on the boys' side. Up to 8. East Rochester been impressive at 9, and then Red Jacket to 10 as well. So it's a pretty strong showing in this week's top 10 for the Finger Lakes West. There's been some years past where you might see one Finger Lakes West team in there at 9 or 10, and then maybe that's it. So the league is pretty strong. I don't think you have a team's caliber of Lions or Wayne, but after that, it's kind of up for grabs. So, and what I say with the power rankings is if you're in the top 10, then I think you're a legitimate sectional contender. You know, whether you're 9 or 2 or 3, everybody's in different classifications. But I think if you appear on that list, that you really should consider a sectional title as a possibility and a goal. But that's just me. So there's the top 10. What's that?
So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about basketball is it will actually play out on the court. If you don't like what you see there, remember you can always call in to our new call-in show, our new call-in line, and complain to me, and we'll play it on there.
No, that's okay.
866-315-FLX1. That's 866-315-3591, extension 803. Leave your first name, where you're calling from, and your message, and we'll play it back on the show. It's the Upstate Hoops call-in hotline this year. So, a couple more things quick, guys, before we let you go home and get ready for Christmas. Where do you guys like to do on like a Friday night in Rushville? Where do you live, Rushville or Gorham?
Gorham.
I'm living in Stanley now. So
Stanley?
Yep.
And Stanley's part of the Whitman School District, is it?
We have like 8 hamlets.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I always think of it as Rushville, Gorham is the main two, but Stanley
Hall, Middlesex, Potter, Pine Valley, Crystal Beach. We have all these little hamlets that make up Marcus Whitman. Yeah,
and I was lucky enough to go up to Marcus Whitman a few times this fall for soccer games for my daughter, and great facilities, man. They really, like the 8-man football. I was up there one night, and there was an 8-man football game going on, and it was like up and down. It was pretty exciting. So great facilities. I love your home court. I do love it, except for the internet part of it. But
we're going to work on that for you.
Yeah, that's. I don't know if you can just punch a hole in the ceiling or something, but it's like.
Well, we joke it's the vortex, the cell phone vortex. Whenever you walk in, your cell phone just goes to emergency call only. So it's kind of crazy.
And we are getting a new capital project coming through, so we'll have to make sure that the internet for these types of games is on the to-do list of our new capital project. Put
some sort of cell phone wireless repeater or something in there so we can just get out, but because it is a reason we don't get over there to do your games much, because we literally can't. I think the last time we do some radio only games and then tape it, but even that is difficult to just get the audio signal out of there. So I don't know, like I said, maybe I can talk to somebody at IT and I can get like a password and an unblocked access to stream out of there. So, okay, where was I? Got sidetracked. Oh, so Stanley Rush. Did you say Rushville? Gorham. What do you guys do on a Friday night?
Hang out with friends, family, just relax.
Yeah, it's somebody's house
or a game.
Yeah. Same thing with you, Maddie?
Yeah.
And where do you guys like to eat?
Everywhere.
Do you like drive to Geneva or Canandaigua or Penn Yan or something, or is there restaurants around where you live? So we mostly
there's
cook
a
at
store.
Order pizza?
Yeah, that Chinese food.
Chinese food. So where do you go to get Chinese food?
Well, Great Wall is pretty good in Canandaigua.
Great Wall in Canandaigua? Yeah. How about you, Manny?
Or
Where do you like
Taco
to eat? Taco Bell?
Taco Bell, no.
Anywhere, probably Canandaigua.
Do you go to Canandaigua? Yeah, there's a lot of good restaurants in Canandaigua.
The girls love Pontillo's from Canandaigua for pizza.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
KFC.
What other sports you guys play?
I played soccer recently, or previously.
But not something like you just kind of signed up because and played. It's not something you focus on.
Yeah, it's more stay in shape and
my
cousin's favorite sport, so I'm happy as well. So
it's a good sport to stay in shape with for sure. How about you, Maddie? You play any other sports?
Lacrosse.
Lacrosse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what about like favorite teams outside? Like who do you follow in either pro or college sports?
Not many. I don't know. I have more favorite players than teams, honestly. So.
Yeah, it's the NBA's. That's kind of like the way the NBA does it this year. So who's your favorite players?
Kyrie's my favorite player.
Okay. All right. And did you see his movie there? You see the Uncle Drew?
What's the name of that one? I want to.
I took my daughter to see that. It was all right.
Yeah.
Maddie, what about you? Who's your favorite teams? Or
Kevin Durant.
You like Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
Okay. It is crazy how though it's more like the world of basketball now, Coach. People are focusing on like the individuals other than the teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, we were talking I think before the show. It's hard to get onto one team because kids leave so often, so early. So programs don't get built. Duke, Kentucky, you can follow the team, but eventually the players that are on that team for a year, they're gone. So. I just like watching basketball myself. Anything that's on, it's great.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I agree there. So, Maddie, you had some nice sneakers on the other night. They were Kyrie sneakers, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you know she wears Kyrie sneakers? You wear Kyrie sneakers?
I do. Yes.
Okay. All right.
We're hoping it makes her jump a little higher with those sneakers on a little bit. We're trying to get her nice and tough, at 6'2", to really, take over in the paint there. So the sneakers are just a step in that confidence of jumping higher.
Well, before one thing, I'm going to critique your game, Maddie, as a sophomore. John, I'm not going to critique your game because I think that as a senior, you've really. If you and I were to play one-on-one, I would have zero chance. You'd kill me. Okay? But Maddie, one thing about your game that I noticed after watching you just play once is you bring the ball down low. I'm sure coaches told you this. When you get a rebound, keep it up high. You brought it right down where Jenna McDonald and Logan Shawless could just strip it away or tie you up for a jump ball. Keep that ball up high, and you'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, I get told that a lot.
So just one tip there.
She likes the dribble. She likes to dribble before she goes up and scores. She tells me it's her safety net. So we're using. Well, yeah, she's got to do a bigger wrap, no dribble. That's our goal for the next 2 weeks. No dribble.
No dribbling at all.
No dribble. She's got to wrap and go
dribble.
up. She doesn't get one. She's got long enough legs.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, I agree with that. But again, it's amazing, and one of the fun parts about this, what we do at Finger Lakes One, is getting to watch kids get so much better, from year to year. And with your girls team too is I see a lot of teams get better from November to February, and that's what's fun too is watching that improvement just over the course of the season. And then we're big on predictions here at Finger Lakes One, so the whole summer will go by, and then we'll try to figure out what's going to happen the upcoming year. And then so many kids have gotten so much better over the off season, so it's a very fluid situation in high school basketball. Players can really improve their standing. So last thing for you guys, John, do you know what you're doing after high school yet? Have any plans?
Well, I'm really into cars and stuff like that, so either like an auto tech program, something like that, or I would like to go for like a business degree or something.
Yeah,
Something
or
along
both
the
of them,
lines,
and then
yeah.
open up your own auto shop.
Exactly.
That I tell you, that's a great. It's like a funeral home owner. You know, it's people are always going to need them.
Yeah.
People are always going to need auto techs because.
Yeah, I take the Finger Lakes Technical Career Center. Take auto body there. So
Now, do you like that just from a perspective of working on them, or do you like follow NASCAR or any of or stuff like that?
no, I don't. I like just working on like different. I like the different like builds that people do because you can get pretty unique in what you do.
Sure. Maddie, how about you? You're just a sophomore, so I'm sure you just want to enjoy being a kid for a while. But do you know what you want to do after high school at all?
No.
Any like fields interest you?
I would like to play basketball somewhere, but I don't know.
Well, keep the ball up. Don't dribble. No, I think certainly if you keep working, that'll happen for you for sure. So, well, guys, thank you for coming in and making the drive from Marcus Whitman to be on the show.
I got the text update. Our AD's on the internet issue, so he's already.
Jeremy Klingerman?
Paul Leahy's our AD.
Oh, Paul Leahy.
So he's he must be watching.
Klingerman's AD.
Klingerman's AD. Yep.
Okay.
So the two of them together, hopefully we can figure that out.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Because we would definitely want to come out there. It's not that long of a drive for us either, and we'd love to. We would love to do that doubleheader pause for a cause. Happened to be on the same night as the doubleheader from Waterloo.
We were going to do it Friday, but we thought a lot of people might head out after school, being a vacation, so we decided to do it the Thursday to draw more of a
Plus,
crowd,
that Thursday's almost like vacation already,
Yeah.
you know, except you're right, it keeps them in town and keeps them interested. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. And, one last thing I want to ask you. Marcus Whitman was at Finger Lakes East School when I was in school.
Yep.
Do you miss the Finger Lakes East? Like when you go, especially as a player, a former player for Marcus Whitman, do you miss going to the East schools now that you're playing in the West?
It's definitely funny because the girls now have all these rivals, you know, from the West. And for me, I have such strong rivals even now, you know, as being a coach with the East.
Right.
So it's definitely a different feel to kind of start to learn the rivals that happen in the West. I think with us, you know, our enrollment continuing to decline, you know, I think it's definitely competitive for us to be in the West. But I'll tell you, the bus rides to Penn Yan and to Mid Lakes are a lot better than the bus rides to South Seneca and Romulus. So sometimes you miss the East a little bit. If you could take a boat,
it wouldn't take that long. But unfortunately, you have to go around the way.
So I think both have, you know, they're competitive, you know, competitiveness. These guys don't necessarily know any different than playing in the West. So, you know, Coach O'Connor also played in the East. Both of us, you know, went to Whitman and played.
Oh, you went to Whitman too? For some reason, I was thinking Victor.
No, I graduated in 2001. We actually got to play in the big house too. We lost to Kevin Downey in Livonia.
Oh yeah.
So we lost in the semis, but they had the semis and the finals there when we were in school.
Those were the days, right?
So it was a good experience. It would be great to get back there. But yeah, you know, the East is great competition. I try to scrimmage East teams every year.
You know, one game where we definitely are webcasting is you guys are coming to Minders.
Minders,
and that's definitely on our schedule. That's going to be a fun game.
So we scrimmaged Geneva. We played Mid Lakes. We played Penn Yan. We'll play Minders. So we're still trying to do some crossover things with the program, just to keep it competitive and keep that feeling of East basketball alive. So
I would almost like to see an end of the year like they do in Steuben County, where it's West plays the East champ in one game. You know, I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
But logistics and stuff, I don't know how you make that work. But so Merry Christmas, Maddie, John. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Wish you guys both the best of luck this season. And I think we'll be seeing you both at some point here before the end of the year. And John, you know, postseason, you know, sectional run this year. We're going to have our eyes on you guys. So just keep working.
We're waiting for it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us here on the Upstate Hoops Podcast. Connect with us on Twitter at FingerLakes1. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Our audio-only podcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher.com. Archived episodes are available at FingerLakes1 TV. And this podcast airs weekly on Finger Lakes TV Spectrum Channel 1304. You can also find our show live, stream games, and the latest news, weather, and sports 24/7 on the free FingerLakes1.com Android or iPhone app. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a few days off from basketball here for the holidays. Have a very Merry Christmas. We'll see you on Friday night live from Geneva.